Ladies and gentlemen, Shotos and grapplers, zoners and rushers, this is an auspicious day. This is the very first episode of Plat Gaming, hosted by myself, Josh. This is a series where we will cover mediocre takes on characters because, as we all know, high-level play sees a lot of takes. High-level tier lists from pro players, combo trials, all that kind of stuff that lets you see a level that you'll want to get to, that you'll strive to get to, but you might not ever achieve. So I want to cover the middle tier, how characters react and play, my thought process in playing a character. My teachings can help you get to mid-tier or above. If your teachings can help me, leave them in the comments below. I would love to see them. In our very first episode, we will be covering Cammy from Street Fighter 6. Now, to start things off, I'd like to cover the story of Cammy, but to sort of future-proof the episode and ensure I'll still have stuff to talk about when we eventually get back to Street Fighter 5 Cammy, Street Fighter 4 Cammy, or even Third Strike Cammy, or some spin-off like CVS 2 or NBC or something like that has Cammy. I will only be covering her story in Street Fighter 6, which truthfully is not that much. Street Fighter 6's story is mostly located in World Tour, although there is some ladder comic strips and stuff like that.
Round one. Fight.
In Street Fighter 6, Cammy is in regular contact with a lot of the other dolls who have been previously playable characters but have mostly taken a backseat in recent games. One of these conversations with her doll sister Junie leads her learning about JP, who eventually, who is trying to revive Shadowloo. He was like an accountant or something for Shadowloo. We don't really know much about JP, just that he's evil and he's old. He got a massive freaking hunger and he has purple powers, and that can't be good. So Cammy pursues JP to Nashal. She wants to interrogate him to learn about Shadowloo. JP says, nah, I'm good, and that's sort of that. Cammy eventually gets back into contact with Junie after JP basically gives her no information. Essentially just says that she'll keep the other dolls safe as they live their normal-ass lives, no longer under the control of Shadowloo. Of course, setting up either a story DLC or Street Fighter 7. Her role in World Tour is mostly teaching John/Jane Street Fighter. Located in London, which makes sense because she is British, and doesn't lead to any significant story developments for Cammy in World Tour, mostly just that she likes cats and she's scared of dogs.
Round two. Fight.
Now, moving on to her play style. Cammy's a bit of a hybrid. She's not quite a rushdown character, and she's not quite a whiff punish character. She does a bit of both. She has moves like spin knuckle or dive kicks, which are typically associated with rushdown characters, but she doesn't have a lot of the mix-up games that rushdown characters typically have. Instead, a lot of her openings come from whiff punishing. Think of Chun-Li. If with rushdown, think of a Jury. Jury has a lot of tricky, fast attacks, a lot of mix-ups. And for whiff punish, think of Chun-Li. She has a lot of long-range buttons that lead to very slow knockdowns that lead to punishes. Cammy doesn't really have either of those things, but she doesn't have excellent tools at either of those things, but she has decent tools at both of those things. Her biggest rushdown tool will be spin knuckle, which goes through projectiles, because obviously Rushdown's biggest test is how they can get into a zoner's airspace without dying. In Jury's instance, she has her charge, which gives her a charge of her projectile and also gets rid of the enemy's projectile, meaning she can get rid of it and respond with a projectile in kind, which is low, so it would it doesn't interact with an enemy fireball, meaning she can move in. Cammy has spin knuckle, which just goes through projectiles. So this is why if you've played Cammy or you've played against Cammy, you might notice a little bit of hesitance in throwing projectiles from your opponent, or from yourself if you're the opponent, because Cammy can and will punish that. On the whiff punish side of things, Cammy has two main tools. She has her heavy kick, which doesn't lead to much damage, but does lead to a lot of drive gauge damage, has great range, and can be used to harass an opponent who just likes throwing out random ass buttons. But her bread and butter, the thing that we've all been waiting for, is crouching medium kick. Now, crouching medium kick is a pretty universal tool. Not every character has it, but those that do are pretty good. I think it's probably the easiest way to tell if your character's top 10 or bottom 10 is if they have the move or they don't. And now keep in mind, when I say crouching medium kick, everybody has crouching medium kicks. That's not what we're concerned with. What we're concerned with is the ability to press crouching medium kick and immediately press parry to initiate a drive rush. Now, this drive rush for Cammy leads to several things. If it's blocked, the opponent was crouch blocking, they don't fall for that crouching medium kick garbage. Let's say they block, you hit the move and you drive rush in. Your options are grab or do nothing. Most of the time in these ranks, opponents will fall for the grab. They're not really thinking. It's a very fast move. It can kind of eat input sometimes, not consistently. I wouldn't use that as a strat, but most of the time your throw will be successful. Keep in mind that is 3 bars of drive rush for like 10% damage or 20% if they parry it or do something. But it's not the best use of resources, but it does get damage in and it allows you to get Oki. Now let's say the other scenario happens. Let's say you do hit them. They were walking backwards, they were doing some nonsense. You do hit the crouching medium kick and you press the drive rush button. Well, for Cammy, that means you can do just about anything. A lot of her buttons, a lot of her combo starters are pretty fast. So, for instance, you can crouching medium kick drive rush into her heavy target combo, which obviously, because of the end of year 1 update, can now end in a special move. So you just do a little heavy punch, heavy kick, heavy spiral arrow, and all of a sudden, we got damage. That's like a 30% combo, 40% combo right there, and it was pretty easy. Yeah, Editor Josh here with a quick interrupt. This guy is kind of a liar. Alright, he said there was 2 options if you do the medium kick and then drive rush. One if it hits, one if it blocks. That's not entirely true. Alright, if they block it, he said you can do a grab, that's true. You can also just press a button into the block. Alright, let's say they do a lot of throwing, right? Let's say you did the drive rush, you did the throw on block, and they fell for it, and now they're not falling for it anymore, right? They're doing a lot of throw checking. Well, you can just press a button. And if it's a light button, pretty quick, light kick, light punch, maybe a medium punch if you're feeling risky, you'll probably beat the throw, probably. And if they try and check your drive rush with a button of their own, you might trade. Alright, I don't know the frame date on that. You'll want to look into that yourself. Maybe practice a trade combo if you think you have enough time. But it's something to look out for sure. Alright, now get out of here. Back to your regularly scheduled programming, you little rascal. So now you see Cammy's fighting style. Fundamentals, alright? Very solid fundamentals. She's not doing tricky stuff like Kimberly, and she's not doing degenerate high damage like your Akumas or your Ryus. She's just fundamentals. A battle of attrition. Let's talk about the special moves. Quarter circle forward is going to be Cammy's signature spiral arrow. Now, spiral arrow is mostly going to be a combo ender. You technically can use it in a neutral, because with proper spacing it is safe, but it's kind of inconsistent. It's really easy to F up, and it doesn't really lead to anything super big. Even in terms of like speed and crossing the stage, I mean, Spin Knuckle is right there as well. Spiral Arrow does lose to projectiles where Spin Knuckle doesn't. The only difference between the two that I can really think of in favor of Spiral Arrow is that Spin Knuckle, if the opponent, presses light punch or medium punch or something like that, Spin Knuckle will most of the time lose to that, while Spiral Arrow will beat that because it has a better hitbox. I don't think it's really worth pursuing. I would more use it as a combo ender because it has pretty decent damage, but the main thing is that it has corner carry, and as we all know in Street Fighter 6, the corner is king. Now, Cammy does have a DP. That's a Dragon Punch, for those not in the know. A reference to an old move in an old fighting game where the character would do punch upwards. Think of Shoryuken. Any move that kind of shares that property in fighting games is referred to as a DP. Now, Cammy's DP is forward, down, down, forward at the same time, a diagonal, if you will. This leads to it has all the normal functions of a DP, invincible against, or a really good hitbox against aerial attacks. If you use the OD version, it'll do a invincible reversal, but if it's blocked, you will be getting your ass beat. I do apologize. Again, in neutral, this thing's worthless. If it's blocked, it's going to be the worst time of your life. Its damage is decent, it's a good combo ender, it's good for Oki, and it's always worth keeping in the back pocket if you get knocked down, just to tell the opponent, get off me, alright? I'm not interested in playing your gambling simulator. Now, and for me, if you want to choose for combo ender, which one should I choose between Spiral Arrow or the DP? If we're mid-screen, I want to do Spiral Arrow. I want that corner carry. If we're in the corner, it doesn't necessarily matter, but I would probably do the DP, just because I think it's a little bit more damage, and I think it's better Oki. Cammy does have one final kick special move. While she doesn't have a back quarter circle, she does have an aerial kick move. This is her dive kick. The Stuff of Legends, quite frankly, a very good move. Although, in my experience, it's kind of hard to... The input's, like, weird or something. I don't know what's up with it. It, like, never comes out for me. That's a me issue, though. If you got some tips on why it's not coming out, because I know it's neutral or forward jump. If you got some tips on why it's not coming out, you know, let me know, because I need that help for sure. Now, what's so special about Cammy's dive kick is in recent years, thanks to several pro players, it's been used as a not necessarily a get off me button, but it beats throw loops, and you can sort of just do a neutral jump, dive kick, and if they fall for something, they press buttons, it's not catching you, you can just do a combo. Like, it's pretty good. But what's really special about it is hitting the toes, hitting them damn toes. If you properly space your dive kick and it hits like the shin area or lower, maybe the knee area or lower, that dive kick is safe. Not just like, oh, now I can block and you can't do anything. I mean, like, you got plus frames. You can do something that they can't, which is especially useful at lower ranks where people might not know that. They see a dive kick, they block it, they assume, all right, it's my turn now. You can just start beating their ass. Now, don't get crazy with it, all right? I mean, it's not infinite plus frames. You're not going to do a hooligan out here. But some simple, a punch, a medium punch, maybe even a heavy punch if you're feeling spicy. That'll be just fine. That'll work. Moving on to our punch special moves, we have back quarter circle. That's spin knuckle, which in my opinion, my humble platinum opinion, is probably her best special move. Has really good safe frames. It's always plus on like everything. The only time it ever gets punished, for me at least, is if I whiff it and then I get my ass beat. But that's a spacing problem for myself, alright? That's a me thing. Goes through projectiles, and that's especially relevant right now with the addition of Sagat, Fireball King, although he doesn't really throw fireballs in this game that often. He's much more of a Tiger Knee guy. But if you're playing against the Guile, if you're playing against the Dulcim, you will most likely notice a significant shift in how they usually play the game. Dulcims, when they fight Cammy, might be playing more, long-range buttons rather than throwing fireballs, or they might teleport more often. And Guiles will probably play more of that neutral game that Guiles are still pretty good at. Leave the fireballs at home. And of course, Cammy's final special move. Quarter circle forward punch. Hooligan. Now this is an accursed beast, alright? I don't want you using this around willy-nilly. This is a poison apple. You taste that thing, you're gonna get addicted, and I don't want that for you. So it's better just to not use it at all. Alright, we're just gonna move past it. I don't want to hear it. No, come on. You can't make me talk about it. Because it's a Pandora's box situation. Once it's open, you can't close that. Alright, fine. I'll talk about it. Hooligan, it's sort of a stance, sort of a Rekka. I'm not really sure what to call it. Essentially, Cammy does a thing. She does a little stance on the ground, and when you release the button, she flies through the air in a ball form. At this stage, if you press certain buttons, you'll get different actions. Press nothing, you'll get a low. Now the low, most of the time is safe on block. I'm pretty sure it's a spacing thing, or maybe a version if you do like the light version or the medium version. It doesn't, lead to any combo opportunities. It's just pure damage. But a low's a low, and sometimes it catches people. It's worth get some knockdown, get some Oki. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not going to be the best thing ever. If you press punch, you'll get an overhead. Now the overhead's pretty good because Cammy doesn't have that many overheads, so a lot of people aren't going to be stand blocking Cammy. They're going to be crouch blocking because there's really no punishment for crouch blocking. This is to say, hey, stand up. Alright, I can punish that. And also, what's good about the overhead is that it most of the time leads into a combo. If you press down punch, you'll cancel it entirely. Now, Hooligan is why I say this is such a dangerous move, is because it does open people up, but it's also very easily punished. Just pressing any button when you see Cammy flying through the air will result in her getting a hit. And not to mention DP. God, I mean, golly, everybody's got DPs nowadays. That's not going to do anything. Hooligan can't compete against that. But what Hooligan can do, press a little down punch, maybe a little crouch block, a little hold back crouch block action, and all of a sudden, maybe they know you're gonna do Hooligan. Pff, man, watch this. They do a Shoryuken, you've blocked it. Hooligan was fake. I was never gonna do a Hooligan. What do you think I am? Some kind of degenerate? Jesus. And now that Ryu is midair, falling back to earth, thinking about his life's choice, you get to think about what punish you're gonna do to this guy. If you press kick, you will get Cammy's dive kick. This operates on all the same properties as the normal dive kick. It's just that you're doing it out of Hooligan. So, you hit the knees and below, it's safe. If it connects, you can do all the normal combos that you can do out of dive kick. It's just that it's out of Hooligan. Me, personally, I don't really love this option for Hooligan. It is a sort of cheats way to get dive kick, but it's not nearly as good because it's there's much more startup animations. It's very predictable. It's a safe option out of Hooligan, assuming they block it and don't just punish. But I would much rather do a different Hooligan option or just do a normal dive kick. Because I don't think this isn't really a beautiful meeting of the minds between two moves. It's more like the worst of both worlds. There is, of course, the final option from Hooligan, and that's the grab. The grab is probably the best one, because I think the grab a lot of people forget. They think overhead low or just do nothing. They probably forget. I can just hold back and I'll be good, right? I'll hold stand back, that avoids the overhead, that avoids the do nothing, and I think I can react to the low. So I can crouch if I need to. Grab goes right through that. What's especially good about the grab is some people, maybe they're a little bit more advanced, they're a little bit more comfortable, they parry. Parry will cover all of it. They'll cover the overhead, they'll cover the low. Why block? I can just parry it. And I'll get a little bit of drive gauge back. Grab goes through that, and it gives you a little 20% combo for your trouble, because it is a grab, as you know. The OD version of the grab also leads to a little bit of a juggle state, so you can do OD grab into level 3 right away. And that, I mean, you're talking like a 40-50% combo that's unblockable, unparryable, unreactable, not so much. But that's where the mental stack comes into play, as we know. Now, with that tool, I want you to be very careful, okay? Cammy is a neutral monster meant to teach the fundamentals of the game and how to play it. While she does have tricks up her sleeve, Hooligan should not be relied on as your main source. And if I ever see some stats of move usage and Hooligan is number 1, you've let me down. Alright? You've let Cammy down. Look at that face. You want to let that face down? I certainly don't. Now that we've discussed the special moves, let's move on to the supers. Now, in Street Fighter, there's really two main schools of thought. Depending on your character, it feels like you're either going to be using level 1s and level 3s, or you're going to be using exclusively level 2s. Cammy falls into the former camp. She's a level 1, level 3 gal. While she does have a level 2, and you'll probably use it every now and again to, maybe you need a little bit more damage, level 3's too much, level 1's not enough, level 2 will get it done. Most of the time, you're going to be using level 1, which is sort of a super spiral arrow. It's like a spiral arrow into a cannon spike. It does a good amount of damage, has great corner carry. You do target combo right off rip, right? Round start, you jump in, they throw a fireball, you hit them with the the heavy kick, jump in, you do the target combo into level 1, they're in the corner, right? That's one combo and they're in the corner. That's pretty good. Level 2 is a little strange. Level 2 instantly teleports Cammy into the air. It can also be used in the air. And if the opponent is aerial, it just does sort of like a super dive kick. And if the opponent is grounded and doesn't block it, it's kind of a grab. It's not a grab, so do not, if they're blocking, it's not going to go through that. But you enter a cutscene state where Cammy just legitimately kills somebody. They killed. Your favorite character is dead. Yeah, Cammy killed her, killed them. It's kind of tough. I mean, she freaking breaks their neck and shatters their kneecaps. I mean, that's an ACL tear, that's a meniscus. I mean, it's rough. It's rough for sure. But again, you're not going to be using that too much because it's not that good. It doesn't do anything Cammy can't already do. It doesn't really counter anything. Is it invincible? Probably. I don't know. I don't really know the invincibility states for the supers because they're very inconsistent. Do some additional research on that. You need to know. Editor Josh again, I did the research. Level 2, not invincible. But it does teleport you into the air. So if they do something low on wake up, you know, crouching punch, crouching kick, that sort of thing, you'll teleport out of it. Problem is, they're crouching, so you'll go right over them, and then they probably recover in time to punch you, probably, depending on how far you go. Moral of the story, don't use it on wake up. No reason to do that, just use level 1. And even then, like, you're probably only doing that if you're burnt out. Otherwise, just use OD, or do nothing. Like, we ain't gotta press buttons out here. You don't gotta do that. And of course, Cammy's best super, her level 3. Now, why is level 3 so good? Well, like the spin knuckle, it is invincible to projectiles. So a lot of times when you're playing the game, you might see a Cammy, teabagging. I can assure you that they are not teabagging. You need to take a gander at their super meter, and if you see a 3, do not do anything I wouldn't do. Don't do anything that takes that many frames, alright? Because she is eyeballing an opening. And that really is Cammy's playstyle. Eyeballing, she's a sniper. She's looking for openings, and level 3 is the biggest iteration of that sniper rifle. Does a buttload of damage, leads to pretty good knockdown. Can you jump over it? I mean, technically, but a lot of level 3s in Street Fighter 6 have pretty good air hitboxes, so I wouldn't bank on jumping over it. I would rather just block it out. But if you're throwing a projectile, you can't block it out. So for Cammy supers, you're going to be doing level 1, you're going to be doing level 3. Level 2 is a not necessarily never use. I'm not going to take away one of your tools from you. But it's probably not on the highest priority list to hit a level 2. Now that we know all of Cammy's tools, what exactly am I trying to do with this lady? Well, like I said earlier, you're a sniper. You're looking for openings. You're looking for walkbacks. You're crouching medium kick. You're looking for maybe just throwing out buttons randomly. Hit them with a heavy kick, a standing heavy kick. A little note about that standing heavy kick: you want to be careful not to be pressing forward heavy kick because that will give you a different move, one that is not nearly as good. And I'm not going to say forward heavy kick doesn't have any uses, because it does have a little bit of a sway property, not necessarily DJ or Elena level, but she does do a little back and forth motion. Maybe you could catch a throw, an anti-throw or something like that. But I wouldn't be too confident in that. So just make sure when you press that heavy kick button, you have reset your directional input back to neutral. Alright? I don't want to see any accidents out here. Don't say I never did nothing for you. Cammy's punches are about, more of the same. Pretty good distance, pretty good damage. They lead to a lot of her stuff kind of leads into itself. She has a lot of drive rush cancels. Cammy's a very drive hungry character, so you need to make sure not to burn yourself out, because you're going to be crouching medium kicking pretty often. You're going to be, if you want to keep some back for OD reversal, maybe you're going to be doing some OD hooligan grabs. She's drive hungry, alright. But really, Cammy is a reactionary character. Obviously, when she has the advantage, she'll press it, but you're going to be you want the opponent to make the mistakes. My normal gameplay loop for Cammy, now again, you want to be very careful establishing a gameplay loop, alright? It's fine if you want to get the opponent into your playground. We're going to play this game my way, but just know you're setting yourself up for what's called a flow chart, to where you become sort of predictable, right? If your opponent can parse out your flow chart, they know what your next move is, they can counter that, right? So, like, let's say you do a knockdown, they know you're going to do a throw loop, they can throw tech or they can invincible reversal. So, you want to be very careful establishing a game plan and just following that to the letter. You want to be able to adapt, and that's the biggest thing with fighting games, is the ability to adapt to every opponent, because nobody's exactly the same. That's the beauty of the fists, brother. My typical gameplay loop for Cammy will look a lot like I hit an opening, I hit the crouching medium kick, I do a drive rush, maybe I do a little jump in, I get a hit. If I get the hit confirmed, my normal gameplay loop looks like the heavy target combo into special move. Because I'm not too good at the super complex combos. That's a part of the gameplay I need to work on for sure. But it's solid and it'll get you where you need to go. A lot of my playstyle is very reactionary. I want the opponent to make the first move and I want to punish it. I don't use Hooligan basically at all, and while that is obviously I'm missing out on a tool of her kit, truthfully, I think Hooligan is more of a curse than a blessing. I think it's sort of a fool's errand to use Hooligan too much. Now, if you can integrate it into your normal gameplay loop, that's just another tool. I also need to get better at dive kicking, because that is a huge part of Cammy's toolkit, her gameplay loop that I'm just not utilizing. I find that dive kick tends to not come out. I'm also not too good at anti-airs. Using the DP, I'd prefer to use the air grab, because I think people aren't expecting it too much. It has a very generous hitbox, and I find it beats most air-to-air moves.
Cammy wins.
Overall, Cammy's a solid character. She's probably top 10. She's probably top 5. I don't really know the tier list these days. I know everybody's crying about my, understandably so. Them fans eat you alive. Cammy's a solid character that will probably always be solid because she relies a lot on fundamentals. Look at Guile. Guile's a fundamental character that has pretty much always been solid throughout most Street Fighter games. I think Cammy's worth learning, if nothing more than to learn the matchup, but she will additionally teach you fundamentals that will be good moving into any character. She's a worthwhile character. That is the first episode of Plat Gaming. If you'd like to see a character, please leave in the comment below the character and the game, because I want to drag this series out as long as possible. So we'll do different iterations of the character for sure. Most fighting games are on the table. Most characters are on the table. I got no qualms with learning a new character or learning a new game, so don't be afraid to ask. Also, if you want to recommend a game that's outside fighting games, you want to do a little, you want me to cover Tracer from Overwatch, you want me to cover freaking Psylocke from Marvel Rivals, I'm not opposed to that. I would prefer to keep it in the fighting game sphere for now, but let's keep our eyes open for the future. There's no problem with that. Anyways, that's the end of the show. This is Josh signing off. Let me know what you think. I need improvement. I need feedback. Comment below, holy. So, I made a little comment earlier that Cammy will probably always be good because she's popular, which kind of got me thinking about an interesting discussion, sort of chicken or egg style, about, is a character good because they're popular, or is a character popular because they're good? Right. So you look at a lot of the newcomers from Street Fighter 6, and while, me personally, I think they're pretty good, I think a majority of the characters haven't really been high on the tier list for most of the game's lifespan. You look at, Manon, Jamie, Marissa, and Lily. While all these characters have something going for them, a lot of the reason that you might have difficulty fighting them is because nobody plays them. Because I think most people assume that they're not very good. So, let's, fast forward 15 years to Street Fighter 7. Do any of these characters make a comeback? Luke probably comes back. JP probably comes back. That's a given. But, will we ever see Marissa again? You know what I mean? If she's not very good and people don't play her because she's not very good, she consistently ranks at the bottom of tier lists. Do they bring her back? Do they view her as not popular, so why bring her back? But maybe she's not popular because she's not that good. I don't really know what to think about it, because I think it's sort of a discussion that goes in circles a lot of the time. But if you got some thoughts on it, leave a comment down below. I'll think about it. I'll read it. I might respond to it. I think it's an interesting discussion on what comes first. Because a lot of people, I think there are two main mentalities when picking a character. I think there's aesthetic, and I think there's, tier lists. So that's your discussion topic for this week. Let's do maybe a 200 word minimum. I want that due on Friday, and then go ahead and respond to 2 of your classmates. Let's do a 100 word minimum on that. Let's do half, and then I want that due on, let's say, Tuesday. I'll give you the weekend, and that's your homework. I'll grade that and get back to you. Love to see it.